Hello, my name is Giles Perkins. I'm the Head of Future Mobility for WSP, and I'm also the Programme Director for Adept Live Labs, the £23 million innovation programme that's looking at how we can bring innovative tools, techniques, solutions to the local road sector. Alongside me today is Jason Pavey, Market Director for Local Transport at Atkins, who we will be asking questions today of our guests, which are Cumbria. So if Cumbria colleagues would like to introduce themselves.
Hi, hello, my name's Andy Brown. I'm a Senior Manager in Cumbria County Council Highways, and I'm leading this project on behalf of the County Council.
I'm Matthew William. I am Project Lead in the Capital Programme team, and I'm Project Manager for the Live Labs programme.
Thank you. So to start, could you give the audience an overview of what the Cumbria Live Lab is doing and hoping to achieve?
So the main purpose of this particular live lab is to examine the use of plastic waste in an asphalt mix. And when I talk about an asphalt mix, I mean actually on roads construction. So it's to look at using waste plastic as a replacement for part of the bitumen additive that goes into the asphalt mix. So the piece of work that we've been doing, we started this a couple of years ago with a local SME, and we've now developed this project that we're looking at this on behalf of all local highway authorities in the country, where we are looking at the feasibility of how that waste plastic can be used. Waste plastic that would have gone to either landfill or into incineration, how that can be put into the asphalt mix, and what are the key issues associated with doing so.
Fantastic. So in terms of, just to give the viewers a kind of an indication of the scale, how many sites, how many locations, etc., just be good to get a flavour of.
So like a lot of these schemes, there are a number of sites already around the country that have been identified, and in fact quite a number of local authority colleagues will be aware that there have been plastic trials undertaken across the country. So part of this Live Labs is to collect that information, but here in Cumbria we're also looking at around 10 to 12 sites where we're testing this material in what I would describe as more robust research and laboratory conditions. So we'll be making significant testing, undertaking testing and regime of the material in exposed conditions. So Cumbria, the nature of Cumbria is we have a lot of climate impact regarding the high on, and also in flood areas. So testing this in Cumbria seems to be a sensible place to start.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. Perhaps I can ask a question, Andy, Matt. It's a good start. So just thinking about the longevity of the pilot and trial, you know, when will you know whether this has been a success and where it's suitable or where it's not suitable? So you know, when's that milestone?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so I think with this project, you would hope that the highways should last a good 15 to 20 years, but obviously the project doesn't give us that long. So there's a couple of elements where we can try and either speed up the response, or doing some advanced wear testing, for example, but also some of it is just in the laying and dispelling some of the myths. So does it mix at the same temperatures? Does it lay the same? Does it cool any different? Do we look at, is there any different fumes produced, for example? So with some of the kind of questions and answers we get almost immediately, but obviously the longevity of the product needs to be tested over a bit of a longer period.
No, that's great. Thanks, thanks, Matthew. And I was reading something astounding in one of your press releases that on one of the sites you're looking at, I've written down here, 238,958 plastic bags or bits of plastic that you use in the mix. Where's all this coming from, and you know, how does that work for Cumbria?
So the long-term aim here is for certainly for Cumbria is to put into its local roads the waste plastic that it generates in Cumbria itself. At the moment, that waste plastic is, as I said before, either destined for landfill or incineration. So this is not the recycled plastic. This is the waste plastic elements. So the process get embed it into the asphalt mix. But you're absolutely right. Some significant numbers. Although we're talking about a very small percentage of the asphalt mix that waste plastic contributes, i.e., less than 1%, that converts into something like 1 ton of asphalt into something like 850 plastic recycled single-use plastic bags. So it's quite a significant volume of waste plastic that goes into an asphalt mix. And that only has a very small proportion of the overall content of that asphalt. So we believe that in Cumbria, we can remove most of our waste plastic if we were to use it in all of our highways resurfacing schemes.
Wow, fantastic. Giles, did you have a
Yeah, just an interesting point on the circular economy aspects of this. So for the first time, we're kind of making that link between things that we all produce unwittingly, so the waste that we all try and reduce, and local highways. How is that kind of conversation going with across the council? Because it's interesting, it's cross-sectoral, isn't it? This is one of the interesting things about Live Labs, is that we end up having conversations beyond just local roads. So could you just discuss a little bit around how that's working internally? Because I think it's an interesting point and very valid for other local authorities.
Yeah, I think with Cumbria, like a lot of local authorities, it's a mixed setup really. So we're disposal authority, but we're not collection authority. Cumbria's made up of the districts and the boroughs actually collect the waste, but Cumbria will be the authority that are actually disposing of it. So it's a bit of it has been a bit of a challenge to get all the relevant information from all the relevant people, regardless of the collection of what's actually produced, where it goes, and then working with McCreeber and the contractors and so on is to understand how much we're actually then using. So it's been interesting to work between obviously our own highway, our own waste, and looking at the internal side for the waste contributors as well.
And have those districts been kind of, have they got different approaches that you've had to overcome to get a harmonisation of the thinking and the sort of the overall workflows, or you're not at that stage yet?
We're kind of approaching that stage now, so the discussions have started. On average, most places do operate the same. Huge volume of the country's plastics does go through one contractor actually. So though there's different approaches, we get a good picture because, as I say, there's one contractor that ultimately disposes at the end of it.
Mm-hmm. That's great, and just building on that, Matt and Andy, just interested in what sort of appetite reception you've had from local communities, from council leaders, and so on. Because this is perhaps a great opportunity of responding to the net zero and carbon agenda. Just interested, what sort of response have you had from the communities and locals?
Yeah, I mean, certainly from Cumbria's point of view, to date it's been well received. There has been a positive feedback, and I think there is a real benefit that is clearly there in terms of finding a use for this waste plastic that would otherwise be disposed of. So we've certainly seen that our politicians and local community leaders and the community as a whole have been fully supportive and engaged. We're also seeing that across the country. So obviously part of Live Labs in terms of this scalability is to look at how can this be applied to all local authorities. And that's generated an awful lot of interest from other politicians, elected mayors across the country, who were clearly, everybody has now got with the the waste plastic epidemic that everybody's fully aware of, from David Attenborough's Blue Planet right through to Prince Charles and Prince William talking about it in the recent past. So I think there is a full awareness of the environmental benefits, and there are also the financial benefits, particularly as a waste authority, as Giles mentioned.
Mm. So that articulation piece, because it's interesting, isn't it? It's an innovation, but it's quite a very simple innovation in terms of understanding it. It's something that affects all of our lives. How is that going in terms of requests from others? Because obviously there'll be people listening to this this chat thinking, oh, actually that might be relevant, or our members are interested in doing that, or even developers and others might be interested. So how does that work in terms of that storytelling piece and articulating this?
And certainly our approach has been very much working with DFT and ADEPT, is that this is a piece of work that we're doing on behalf of a number of local authorities and a wider audience, because there is a recognition that there needs to be an independent review of this as a potential product. So we see this, although we're doing this in Cumbria, we're actually doing that on behalf of a significant number of local authorities. And certainly DFT's view is that we will use these results to share and disseminate the information to all of our, certainly on local highway authorities networks. So that's certainly part of that dissemination of the information.
Fantastic.
That's great. And just Live Labs, something that was a little bit different, innovation. It was about trying to encourage us to take a little bit more risk potentially in the sector, fail fast. Giles has just talked there around, how do we share lessons learned, etc. I was just interested in, Andy, Matt, your experience of Live Labs. Has it felt different? What's it been like?
Yeah, I think it has been a different sort of project. I'm sure Matt will agree with me, because we, by definition, in local government tend to be risk averse and not necessarily pushing the boundaries. So the opportunity that Live Labs has presented to sort of take some of those risks, to try something out, and if it doesn't work, we'll be the first to admit it. That's been in some ways, it's been quite a motivation really to move this forward. So we've thoroughly enjoyed the work that we've been doing to date. It's brought us into contact with not only our supply chain and better working relations across our industry, but it's also given us a wider understanding of some of the pressures that our colleagues in the other Live Lab teams are dealing with. So we've shared and disseminated that information as we've all progressed step by step.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and I think to add to that, from me, just from a project management style, it's been very different to be involved with universities and other kind of investigative laboratories and so on, and different contractors. It's been a different learning curve for us, because typically, in the capital program team, it's about kind of building new roads and new schools and new bridges. It's the standard kind of stuff. So to do an investigation and research project is really interesting, as I say, and it's a good learning curve as well, to be honest.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. We're just about to wrap up now. Is there anything Cumbria colleagues would like to add in terms of a call to arms, perhaps, to local authority listeners, touch, etc.?
Means we're very keen to hear from any colleagues and authorities who are interested in this plastic waste trial. And hopefully the outcome of our piece of work will dispel some of the myths around. So very much this is about dispelling some of those myths, both environmentally and in terms of financial and performance of the material as well. So yeah, very much. If anybody's interested, by all means, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
So thank you, Andy and Matt from Cumbria. Thank you, Commissioning Board Member Jason Pavey from Atkins. Please have a look at the ADEPT Live Labs website. Google ADEPT Live Labs, where you will find our white papers, you'll find our end of year report, blogs and news pieces about the program. So thank you for listening, and look forward to seeing you again.